the other day I asked you why we're doing this, and you explained it extremely well. I feel like you should say it again. And you said it's a time capsule.
Yeah.
I feel like there's something really beautiful about that. So
Yeah.
do you want to tell me and everyone else why we're doing this?
Yeah, essentially, Jesse and I have gotten to know each other a lot over the time that we've lived in the same place. We're both in different parts of Denver, which is cool because we're like close, but it's also tough because we're about 50 minutes to an hour from one another. So we really don't see each other as much as we'd want to. But every time we've gotten together, as our lives are both extremely busy over the last couple of years, I've walked away feeling like inspired just as like a person, as a man, and as a business person. And I just appreciate talking with you about like us being in disc golf, but also just trying to live lives that give us purpose and that we enjoy. And honestly, because even though we're so close, we're both very busy. I'm a new father. You have a massively like burgeoning business. That's probably not the right word, but
it's a great word.
Thank you. We really wanted to kind of make a capstone or a time capsule of 6 more months of me living in Denver, because I'll be moving in December. And honestly, we'd probably get together every 6 to 8 weeks. And so now we're going to get together every month instead. And just put these online. It makes sense because both of us are pretty content boys and we like making things and putting them online. And so our conversations make it into content. If no one watches, we're pretty okay with that. But we feel like there's some value to the conversations that we've been having. So we wanted to put 6 of them on camera, because there's also going to be a lot of change over these 6 months that I'm kind of excited to see memorialized in these episodes.
For sure. We literally won't be the same people we are starting this podcast as we will be ending it, which is only 6 months away, which is crazy. I think it was like driving home from one of those conversations we had, we were hanging out, and I was like feeling the same as you. And I was like, what if we did a podcast that had a cap on it? It would not continue. It would be 6 episodes and that would be it. But it would force us to also hang out and get those times together and just see where things go. And I don't know, I got really excited about that. And then I called you and asked about it, and you were like, we can't monetize it. Like no money. And I was like, I'm in. Let's do it. So there's no monetary value out of it. There's only the like human value of us having a conversation. Maybe someone else gets something from it. Maybe one person watches this. Could be you or me. And that's it. And that's okay. Like we're good there. So
yeah, I think too, I have a 10-month-old at this point. She's like 10 and a half months.
Crazy.
And so I'm 27, but I've started thinking about legacy so much more. Just not only like in this esoteric sense of like, what's the legacy I want to leave on the sport or in my business or as a creator, but more so like a part of my legacy is now I see it like embodied in who my daughter is, because I see some of my personalities, the things that I like and things that I don't like, kind of reflected back in her. And I like having more of these conversations because I'm thinking more in these terms, because I'm wanting to think, who do I want to raise my daughter to be? Or give her the opportunity to like lean into in herself as she grows up. And so I'm excited to flesh that out, because I'm a very external processor, as anyone who's watched my 800 something videos can tell. And so it's helpful to talk with you and then to hear someone's perspective, who I look up to a lot as well.
Dude, she's the happiest clam. She's literally just always so happy. Such red hair. What, like, in terms of expectations of having a child, were you even close? Or are you is it totally different?
I did a pretty good job of not having insane expectations, I don't think. Mostly just because I knew it would be pretty dumb to try to expect something that seems like, as someone who like is a parent now, I don't even know how to describe some of the like, especially emotions and like feelings that I have. Like I even think of last week, my wife has taken my daughter to the mall before, just like to go to the play place, and they went and bought my Father's Day gift there. And so they found this play place there. And I mostly work for myself, and I'm at home, and I don't do a lot of crazy interpersonal things, especially with her. Like I'll bring her around here, but not around kids her own age. And so going to there and like seeing her interact with people, like a well of emotions of like, I don't want to see her be left out. And like
Yeah,
things that
interesting.
like you see in her that you don't even realize are like some parts of reflections of like my not wanting to feel left out or whatever. And so there are those feelings that I don't even know how I could have expected them. It's like whole new categories.
Yeah.
And so I just don't think I think anybody who says that they had the correct expectations as a parent are a much better person than I, because I don't even think you could have imagined it, especially in how hard it's made like work life this year. And the challenges that's brought, but it's more been a restructuring of my expectations around myself, honestly, more than having a daughter, because this is actually probably where this comes to a point and why I'm grateful for externally processing with you. But my expectations for like her and who she is were kind of a blank slate, open board. But I did have expectations for how I was going to be able to continue working and like my relationship with my wife, and all of that as continuously having to be blown up, and like I have to figure it out again and again. And I like adapting and I like change, but it's been a lot of changing my ambition to, it feels less ambitious, but it's just a different type of ambition. And it changed so much about like who I perceive myself to be in terms of like my work, that that's what I didn't expect at all, that I'm just over the last couple weeks coming to terms with.
Yeah, I feel like we talked like so many times leading into that, and you had great plans for continuing daily videos and all these different things. And that's really interesting to hear that, because she's been awesome, clearly, and you didn't have too many expectations there, but it feels like the last 10 months from the outside looking in have been almost an incubator for you in terms of like, where are you going now? As you, not her. She's on her trajectory. And yeah. Okay. So I want to go back, because I feel like there's so much for us to talk about there and where we're going.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's a couple blanks for me that I need filled in of where it started.
Okay.
And
what started?
I remember,
like, do you know how to have a kid? Like, is that
not that?
Okay.
Beyond that point. I remember getting a DM in 2022. Early 2022.
Not early.
2022.
Like kind of middle.
Mid 2022. Okay. And clearly my memory's killer. My wife will tell you. So 2022, I get a DM that's like, hey, I'm making YouTube videos and I do this POV disc golf thing. Can I do a POV video with your prototype? And I only had a garage prototype at that point. And I was like, I didn't respond quick, right?
No. So this was funny. I didn't expect anything. And I sent out the message because I was living in a van at the time.
Yeah. And you were coming through.
I was in Boulder house sitting for a couple weeks.
Okay.
And 2 days before I left, I was in Denver and then Boulder for a total of 6 weeks. And I messaged you like kind of on the front end of that. And this feels very validating to me right now, because currently, if anyone has messaged me, the like response percentage is like 2% right now, maybe.
Yeah.
And so I feel really bad about that. But then I remember this and I'm like, it's okay. Like, it's not the end of the world, because Jesse did it to me, so it's okay. But you messaged me like the day before I left and was going to continue traveling in my van. And I was able to make it down.
So you came to the garage, and I walk out into my garage, open the garage door, and you're walking up with a camera filming, like ready to go.
Yeah.
And that was my first interaction with you. And it was interesting because there was a lot of new disc golf YouTubers at the time, because 2022 would be 2 years after I had started and 2 years of the COVID boom. So there was a substantial amount at the point, and it was, I don't know, it felt like a curious time for me to feel like, who's going to last? Who's still going to be here? Who's going to keep it? Who's going to keep pushing this thing? And so you showed up and you were like, I think I'm going to do the first ever review of your disc too, because no one had reviewed the disc yet. And I was like, okay, like, good luck, like, enjoy it. And you did it. I think that did relatively well for you.
Yeah, it was my best video by far up until that point.
Well, you were doing POV disc golf at the time.
Hey man, pretty successful stuff back there. All your first ideas are always your best ideas.
I will say your first videos got more views than my first videos for sure.
Yeah.
Because I looked the other day and my first video in 24 hours, I posted on Facebook. I told everyone I know about it. It got 17 views. And that had to just be me and my wife, right?
Refreshing it to see the views go up. Yeah.
Yeah. Just watch it,
time,
watch it, go to a different account, watch it.
Yep.
So anyway, what was the idea for you? Like the guy who was living in a van, who was doing POV, who DM'd me, what was his idea for what he wanted to do?
Yeah. First, before I answer that question, I know I'll forget, but one of the things about you my first impression ever of you was I messaged you, not really expecting much of a response. So it's like, hey, you're close. Maybe it'd be cool.
Yeah.
And then I get like a video response from you. Like you didn't text me back. You sent me a video of yourself.
Really?
Yeah. And it was like, hey, so sorry that like I got to this so late. Like that gave me such a good lasting first impression.
Oh my gosh.
Because it was so like personal and professional, but also like, I feel like it's very much why your brand is so successful because you're very like, yes, you have this big brand and you're a very professional person, but
Some call it a burgeoning brand.
A burgeoning, yeah. A big burgeoner. Yeah. That's what I would say about Trash Panda. But it always kind of boils down to like, it feels grassroots. It feels personal. It feels like you, because getting to know you more, it's not like, oh, you're putting this on for the fact that you have a business, but like you do want the best for people in general and want to do the best for people in the world. And so I got that from like the first impression of you sending me a video to be like, hey,
that's
like
crazy.
Feel free. Like that was pretty cool. So I remember that.
That's really cool. Yeah. I don't know. I think I still have that feeling of camaraderie when it comes to creators of like, we all start at zero. You can't start a YouTube channel at more than zero. You can be the first subscriber and get to 1, but like you will start at 0. We all start there. And especially in disc golf, people who are like invested in it becoming better. I probably saw that message and felt so bad. Like you talked about, like we get so many messages and when they don't get responded to, it's like, ah. And then I probably just filmed it because I was like I want this dude to keep going. Like I want like content and disc golf to be better. So that's crazy though that I sent you a video.
Yeah.
Wild. I do think low-key video responses are the coolest thing ever because I could get through responding to things quicker if I did a video, but I didn't really feel comfortable sending a video of myself to a lot of people. So wild.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I remember exactly where I was at. Like, I don't know whose house it was, but I was house sitting for him and I remember exactly where I was in the house.
That's crazy.
But to answer your question about kind of where did I see it? So I recently been thinking a lot about this because I actually was listening to a podcast on the way here from one of the people that I really look up to just in media and like as like a person out in like an outdoors, Steven Ranella.
Oh yeah. Meat eater. Yeah.
I was listening to a podcast that he did and he was talking about how in like life, you can look back and with hindsight, there looks like a bunch of like decision trees that you made, but most of it is just kind of like, in the moment, you're just kind of doing the thing that seems to be the best to you. Like, there's not a lot of points where like there's this fork in the road I have to choose, but a lot of it, like you're guided down a path and he called them more dog legs. And then like looking back on it, they look like T's, but they're more just like, no, of course I'm going this way.
Yeah.
But as I got into like middle school, I put like singing covers on YouTube that luckily I have no idea how to possibly find them. Thank goodness. And then,
hopefully this podcast doesn't blow up because someone will find it.
No, they got to be scrubbed. They got to be somewhere.
Yeah.
Or nowhere. But then in college, I was like, I filmed a couple. I just like started doing a bunch of stuff, and I was like, I want to do YouTube. I've always wanted to.
Yeah.
And so I first had a monetized channel in kind of like personal finance business. It turned into Amazon FBA because that's what I did to quit my job was I resold stuff that I bought on clearance on Amazon and made videos about it because I just liked documenting and making videos. I don't think I've ever really made videos where, and I don't think I ever will because that's not really, and maybe down the road. I'm never going to say never because I changed so much in like the course of 2 or 3 years. I can't imagine what 20 years looks like. But I never, at this point, am making videos from the perspective of like the expert. I'm always just trying to document kind of my journey. And it started from all of those places. And I made that content. And then my wife has wanted to live in a van just to travel since she was in middle school or whatever. We got married. We were in Orlando, Florida. And
what year is this?
So we got married in 2018. We met in 2017. Got married in 2018.
Okay.
I graduated college and moved down to Orlando where she was at. We lived there for 3 years where I worked at Boosterthon, which is they do fundraising at schools. Okay. I worked there for like 2 months, but I needed to make money because I had a wife and she was working, but we needed to make more than $14 an hour. And so I made $18 an hour working at Enterprise. So I worked at Enterprise for a bit, worked my way up to the management assistant track. And then I was an assistant manager, but I was you have to work 55 hours a week there. And I was trying to do YouTube on the side and do the personal finance thing. And it was crazy fun to do. And then I was I need more time. So I quit that job and started working at a bank where I worked 40-hour weeks. So I had those 15-hour, that delta was able to be spent on YouTube. And then I was this is going to take a while. Let me try this Amazon thing. And so with my wife, I was okay, we'd paid off all of the credit card debt. And luckily neither of us had student loans because I had a full scholarship and she went to a state school and Florida had this crazy scholarship for her at the time. And so we we paid off all our debt and there was $1,000-$1,500 delta from what she made and what we needed to live. And this was as bare bones as it possibly could be. And I was I just need to make that much money and then I can really work on YouTube. And so I started doing Amazon reselling and was able to do that. And then that income, she was able to work remote if she wanted to because COVID happened 2020. Yep. And so we moved into a van in 2021. And
crazy.
Yeah. So she worked remote part-time. I worked my Amazon FBA and we lived off $1,500, $2,000 a month. And then we were in the van and one of our friends from Orlando, who because of COVID and some other things had moved to Kansas City, he'd played disc golf before just because he enjoyed it. And we were traveling through Kansas City and he gave me some discs about 3 months living into living in the van because I basically didn't have any hobbies. All I had done was try to work to build up my YouTube channel and the other things and just make sure that we could survive. And so I just didn't have any hobbies, and especially a solo hobby, which is problem solving and something athletic and could get out and could do it anywhere. So he gave me 5 discs. I think it was a AVR X3, a Leopard, a Nuke OS, and a mid-range and something else.
Sick.
And then a week or two later, because it was literally 10 degrees in Kansas City and we were freezing our butts off in the van, so we went down to Texas and at Austin. Okay. We slept at Zilker Park a couple of days. That's where I played my first rounds. Really? And then I just got super into it because I'm a very all or nothing person. Yeah. I didn't know this at the point I got diagnosed a year and a half ago or so, but I have ADHD pretty good. So I'm very all or nothing, very trying to find the dopamine thing, looking at what's novel, what's new. And so I got into disc golf pretty heavy and started listening to the podcast, watching all the videos. And
what?
And at this point,
podcasts and videos?
Well, I watched a lot of foundation stuff, Smashbox, and then one of my first 10 videos was doing a Robbie C challenge because he was making videos.
Crazy.
One of the early videos was also from you, and then I don't remember a ton, foundation, of course. But what I realized is there's such a supply and demand difference for solid disc golf content. There weren't an insane amount of people making high quality disc golf stuff. And my other channel at this point, my money one, had gotten to the point where I didn't have to resell anymore because I was making the $1,000 a month or whatever that I needed to from that. And it was at 10, 12
from
thousand subscribers. Yeah.
Crazy.
I did a lot of affiliate deals on that one because reselling you need software. So I had one affiliate that was pay me $1,000 a month just from that, which is crazy. So I was making, I think it was $1,500 to $2,000 a month from all of that stuff. But I had built up a style, which is very me, very fast paced, loud, whatever. And then I was I can just make disc golf content. And so I started trying it about 6 months into playing. And that's when I had reached out to you, and I tried the POV stuff because one of the guys I really liked watching on YouTube, his name is Jay Football. He's a Korean soccer player who is a semi-pro guy, and he wears a GoPro on his head and plays soccer, and you feel like you're in it. And I was I could do this for disc golf. And I tried it, and I have 70-something videos filmed that are just on a hard drive somewhere that will probably never see the light of day, but maybe I get around to editing them and putting them on my second channel. But that's kind of why the POV started, and I was just trying to do YouTube because I like making videos, and I didn't know a lot about making videos. I didn't grow up like doing that, but I wanted to do YouTube. And then what I've learned is like your passion kind of follows your competency and what you get good at. So like as I got better at making videos, I just got more passionate about it and enjoyed it more. Like it became one of the things that I love to do instead of just being something that like I didn't start out with like, oh, I'm insanely passionate about making videos. Like the first couple videos in college that I put up, I think my wife edited because she had some sort of video editing experience, and I like didn't care about it at all. I was like, I don't want to do this. This seems hard. And then now I love editing videos, and I feel like it's one of my strengths, but that's make me more passionate about it.
And I don't want to do this. This seems hard does not ring as like a Bodanza statement. I feel like you're the opposite of that.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound like you, but maybe in the moment it was just like, I don't want to do.
Yeah. There's a lot going on. When I graduated in 2 years and I met my wife, and I was working a lot and trying to get everything done. So maybe it was just a little overwhelmed.
Yeah. You were boosting like fundraisers and stuff.
No. I was working at Papa John's, baby.
Okay.
Delivering pizzas.
When did you pivot? When did the switch from POV happen? Like, when did you see, I'm going to do something else? Because I remember, like, I mean, you had all those videos filmed.
I have a lot of them, yeah.
And then you stopped, you didn't post them.
Yep.
Was it after the trash man video?
So, yeah, the trash man thing was cool because it was the first video that I had that got 10,000 views. And it happened pretty fast.
I remember it doing better than I thought it would.
It did very well,
channel.
yeah. I also just looked at that the other day because I just, less than a week ago now, I passed 3 years of posting my first video. And so some of my videos are starting to say like 3 years ago. And then I went back and I saw that those still only said 2 years ago. I was like, that seems like ages ago. Yeah. But it's only 2 and something years, which is kind of crazy to think
So it was almost exactly 3 years ago from when we're like having this conversation, probably. Like
pretty close, yeah.
Maybe
I think
within
it was probably
a month.
like August or so.
Yeah. Wild.
And so that was crazy to think about. But that video was like part of it. And then I think the real video that I remember, there might have been some before it, but I filmed a Zone and Toro review.
Okay.
And then something else. I feel like there were more in between these. I don't exactly remember what it was, but that's where I was like, I'm just going to never do POV stuff again.
Okay.
But I did part of it, and then I had my camera. It was a Canon M50, like the super basic Canon one.
Yeah.
And eventually, I think a big part of why I started doing reviews a lot more is because the channel was starting to do okay. I was getting like some sort of views. I got it monetized pretty fast. And then my Canon just bricked itself. I got done playing this tournament, and I went to go and film my like post round, like this is what happened, and it just wouldn't turn on.
Really?
And it was just done. And so I went to Best Buy, and I was like, I can either get this APS-C camera again, I can get like an upgraded version, because that one was like $600-$700. And I didn't have the money for any of them. I couldn't pay cash for any of them. But I was like having some sort of success, and I was like, I can pay $600 or $700, which I can't afford right now, but I have good enough credit that I can get 0% credit card to get it, or I can get $1,600 and get the the nicer APS-C one, or I can get a full frame A7 IV for $2,400. And so I ended up getting that because I was like,
when was that?
This was maybe about 3 or 4 months into my channel. It was
really?
It was September, October.
You were already making videos on the other channel too, so you knew you would be making videos.
Well,
so
I was
camera
monetized already on my disc golf channel. My disc golf channel was already monetized.
Still, that's crazy to get an A7 IV like that quick.
Yeah, and so I was like, it's $1,800 more. I trust in my work ethic. Like I know I'll work hard. I'm not like, I'm pretty anti like dumb debt. So like I'm gonna do everything I can to pay this off. And luckily, like within 3 months of that, I was making full-time money on disc golf YouTube. I think part of it was like having a high quality camera, but that was like, I don't think it was super necessary, but it was a helpful differentiation point, because I was like, I could just do the same thing, or my videos could look better than 95% of disc golf videos out there, especially like seeing the disc going so much farther, because I was already having problems with the smaller sensor size of the Canon M50. And so I booked it.
And the GoPro.
It paid for itself. And the GoPro for sure. And paid for itself pretty fast, but
crazy.
It was a risk that I was willing to, like, if I need to take a year to just pay this off and like suffer a little bit for it, I'm okay with that.
Have I ever?
It's still the same camera that I use right now.
Yeah, that's wild. Have I ever told you the story about when our camera got delivered?
No.
Okay, so I did not get that nice of a camera that quickly. I was filming on a camera I had, like, I think I got it my senior year of high school. It was a Canon T3 or Rebel T3 or something like that, and it did 720p. no external mic hookup. So if you go back to the first videos, that's why it looks so bad. Views. Dude, I got 10,000 subscribers on that. Wow. Yeah. So our first 10,000 subscribers were on that camera, which is crazy to think about.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And then I did a giveaway with the camera for hitting 10,000 subscribers to like a family who might want to start a channel with like or something. Yeah, so sweet. And then I got a new camera with that. And the camera I got was not as nice again. It was a Canon like 80D or 50D or something like that. And it was a big upgrade, 1080p, and it hooked up to a shotgun mic. But then when we released the inner core, after the inner core release, so 2.5 years in, I was like, okay, we need a nicer camera now. And I knew we had just filmed a big video for the inner core release that was like a documentary style video, and we had used other cameras with that. So I was just like, okay, now let's have a camera that like I can use for videos, because I'm with you. I like the high quality look of it. Mm-hmm. Whether or not it's a vlog, I like it looking really good. But then on top of that, I was like, okay, let's get something that like we knew the dune was coming out, and we knew we were going to be going to the Great Sand Dunes. So it was like, let's get something we can actually film there with too. So I splurged and got the A7S III from Sony, which with the lens was like $5,000 all in. Yeah. And it got delivered to our old warehouse, and I got there and it wasn't there. So our old warehouse was like a WeWork for warehouses.
You don't have to sign it?
You remember. So here's how it worked. In the building, there was like a shipping and receiving person always there. And they would actually bring it to your unit and put it right inside. Yeah. So you didn't have to sign, because they would sign for it and take care of it. And that way you didn't have to be there all the time. That's nice. You came to that first warehouse. Yeah. So I got in, it wasn't there. So I came up and I was like, hey, it says delivered. It's not there. And they were like, oh, it's probably at a different unit. There was another company in this space called Trash Gurus, ironically. So Trash Panda and Trash Gurus, and then 80 other companies are in this building. It was also not in there. I had to leave to a meeting. I walked by them looking at the security cameras.
Wait, you went to a meeting? Wow, I would have died.
Oh, yeah, no, the show goes on, man. I had to meet. I don't know what the meeting even was, but I had to go somewhere. I think I had to go to our manufacturer. So I had to go to where the discs were being made. Like, that was the most important thing at the moment.
I would have stopped my whole day.
Yeah, no. I'll stop my whole day for disc production, but I won't stop my whole day for a camera, at least at this point.
Yeah.
So I walk by them. There's literal beads of sweat dripping down their faces, and they are looking at the security cameras. I'm like, guys, I have to leave. This doesn't look great, but just let me know what I need to know. I get back from the meeting, and they're like, here you go. Here's your camera. And I was like, sick. Where was it? And they were like, it's here now, and that's all that matters. I was like, where was it? I just want to know. And they were like, so embarrassed about this. They asked me not to tell anyone. It was years ago. I'm not throwing them under the bus, but it's a story worth sharing, and I think we could all laugh about it now. They had given it to the employee to bring to the Trash Panda unit. And they think when they said, take this to Trash Panda, he heard, take this to the trash. It was in the dumpster for 2 days.
No.
Or 3 days. Because it had arrived and I wasn't even in town. So then when I got back, so it was in there for 3 days. It had been put in after the trash was picked up on one day.
No.
So literally the day the trash was picked up. And then we got it the day before the trash was coming the next day.
Oh my gosh.
Alternate universe, dumpster diver, time of his life finding that camera.
Which warehouse is this? I need a new camera.
Yeah. It was crazy. So,
oh my God.
Yeah, that was. I don't know why I went off on that story, but I've never told that story,
I
haven't told you that.
No,
crazy. Yeah. So,
wow.
Yeah, we almost. It was fine at the end of the day, because it was like it would have been replaced through whatever insurance they have or something like that. Like it would have, however, it would have been resolved. I knew it wasn't on us, but like it definitely was one of those moments where you're like, ooh. Anyway, okay, so you get this camera.
Wait. My turn. I want to go back to me like filming that video, because I saw, like I said, I just saw like as I was going back through my old videos, that video is not 3 years old. And you know my lead time with videos is
3.5 hours max.
pretty much. And so to go from that.
Wait, what's my lead time with videos?
Like 6 months?
Yeah, I thought you'd say 3.5 months. Yeah.
To go from that, where I'm taking out what do you even call that? The jelly bean prototype.
Bubblegum Galaxy is what we call it.
Bubblegum Galaxy prototype.
It's hanging up front.
Less than 3 years ago. And I take all the prototypes that you have that you built in there. And now we're sitting in your warehouse with 2 industrial injection machines. You guys have shipped tens, hundreds, thousands of discs. I don't know the exact numbers. Like, what did you think that you would be? Like, your company would be at that time period when I reached out to you, be like, hey, can I review your prototypes?
Yeah.
What was your process of thinking that where you would be?
Totally. So that would be 2022, mid 2022. Mm-hmm. If I go back to 2020, it's really interesting because there's a lot of people who will say to me, like, it was really interesting how you pivoted from being a content creator to being a disc golf manufacturer. Mm-hmm. And in the very first video, I'm like, I'm going to make a disc from recycled plastic in my garage. I was always planning to be a disc manufacturer. Mm-hmm. I didn't know.
Like at this scale, or just like maybe I make a couple discs in my garage?
Yeah, I'm going to say something in the confidence of just telling it to you because I know you see the world this way. Mm-hmm. But it can be taken the wrong way. When people ask me, did you ever imagine it would be here? Yes.
100%.
Of course.
Yeah.
The how? No. The timeline? I mean, I thought I'd make a disc within a month in my garage, and it took 6 months. Yeah. And that was even just the worst prototype ever. So it took another 2 years to get our first release. So like, I don't know how to say that without sounding a little cocky, but like, that's just how our minds work.
Yeah. If I ask you about like your 5-year plan from now, or if you ask me about the 5-year plan from now, we're probably not going to actually say what's in our head because it sounds a little bit crazy.
Yeah. And that's when I like talk to people in my life about it, very similar to what you just said. Yeah. In 5 years from now, when people say, can you believe that you're here? The answer will be yes. So I think as far as like the start and how it would happen, it was unclear, but I always knew it was to be a disc golf manufacturer. And then I had consumed some content from, I think my strength as someone who creates content is being a consumer of content. Mm-hmm. So I love YouTube. I was watching it for probably 6 years really heavily. And around the time I started Trash Panda, I realized like, oh, I've been watching this guy for 4 years now. And I've never bought anything from him, but I want nothing more than for him to win. Like just in life, in business, whatever it is, I just want him to be successful. Specifically, there were 2. There was Alex Steele, who you might have watched. He does
Alex
like
Steele's
a lot of
Yeah.
English dude, blacksmith, metalworking,
Damascus, everything.
Crazy experiments. He had like moved his whole operation to Montana from being in England. And then he moved back during COVID. But like I still watch every video of his, and I want nothing more than for him to be successful. I've bought a few things from him now, and I no joke, after probably 6 years, hit subscribe when I started Trash Panda because I learned that the subscribe button was like important, you know?
Yeah.
So him and then Nick Bear, who does Bear Performance Nutrition, both of them were like building a business and just showing you as they built it, which you referenced earlier. The fact that like, you're not hey, here's my expert perspective. I'm a noob and I'm just going to be doing this and we're going to learn as we go together.
Yeah.
Which I think is a strength of both of our brands.
I think it's also more authentic because neither of us are real. The experts in the thing.
Yeah.
We're getting there. Like if we had, like there's some people who get on YouTube with 20 years experience in something offline. They can portray themselves as the expert because they are.
Yeah.
A lot of new creators get on and try to do that, and they just need to be the person who's documenting things.
Dude, there's disc golf companies who are reaching out to me now who are about to release their first disc that they've been prototyping and working on for 4 or 5 years.
That's cool.
And I'm like, you could have been telling the story the whole time, which is what we did. So at the point you and I met, we're 2 years in, and I was in a business accelerator in 2022 that I'm now like, I am on the technical committee that approves who gets in, and like I judge the competitions now because I'm like, I want to give back to it. It was such a cool thing, but it's a local accelerator actually based out of Boulder that is focused on sustainable companies in Colorado. So it's like focused entirely on sustainability in Colorado-based companies. So I was probably right before we met, maybe a month before we met in May, or a couple months before we met, I was in a pitch competition, and I was pitching the company. And I said we would sell 10,000 discs that year. And mind you, I only had the Bubblegum Galaxy prototype. I'm in the garage still. Like, I had no room saying that. And I will never forget getting off the stage and someone coming up to me afterwards and saying, like, awesome pitch, like, great storytelling, whatever. Your numbers are, like, a little too inflated, but, like, really good job. And a couple months after we met, we sold 10,000 discs. So, like, if you asked, the question you asked was like, did you see that?
Yeah.
Yes, of course. But again, the how it would play out was always an unknown for me. It was always like, I don't know exactly how it's going to happen, but referencing that like Steve Rinella tree analogy of like, just put yourself in a position and like, I grew up very black and white of there's a right choice and a wrong choice at every fork in the road. Yeah. And now I deeply believe in get all the data you can and then make the choice that makes the most sense. And there's not necessarily a right and a wrong choice. And guess what? Life's okay if you make the wrong choice. Yeah. Sometimes, I guess. Shouldn't say that as a blanket statement. But yeah. So at that point, I knew where we were going for sure. I knew I wasn't in the garage much longer. Yeah. But yeah.
What was the process like of getting that first manufacturer? Is that something that you'd been researching for ages and ages and you knew exactly who to reach out to, or did that kind of fall in your lap a little differently?
If I recommended it to someone else, I would say to do what you just said, for sure. It was the first person we called. So I actually was, I worked on the mini mold with another guy in Colorado. Mm-hmm. And we got that produced because he had a machine. He's kind of out like Fort Morgan way.
Like a tooling machine?
No, like an injection machine.
Oh.
And we were going to make it there. And it just became clear, like, we're not going to make this here because I'm going to have to drive out there. And like, we don't know how to run this thing, whatever. So then the first person we called to see if they could run it was LTM, who became our manufacturer here. And that worked out perfectly. And I do not think that story works out perfectly every time. So it wasn't too crazy. I just called them, brought the mini mold to them. That would have been before we met. That was like the year prior in 2021. Mm-hmm. I brought the mold to them. I was like, hey.
Yeah, because you gave me like one of their minis.
Okay, yeah. Crazy. I didn't like you enough to give you a garage mini. I just gave you
that's actually, yeah, that's true. You had all the garage minis, which I would never expected, but I remember that.
So working with them on the garage mold or on the mini mold, mm-hmm. I had the mold built. So when we ran into problems, they were my problems.
Yeah.
So what I learned through that was, okay, if we're going to get the inner core mold built, I'm going to do it through them so that when we run into problems, they're their problems.
Do they have like a tool and die part of their thing? Or
they have a tool and die part of their shop, and then they also work with a tool maker as well. Cool. So working with them, if we had a problem, which I just figured we would, then it would be their problem. And we had a lot of problems initially, and it was all their fault. Sorry, that's a horrible way to say that. I mean, I didn't design the mold. Like, Chris and I designed the shape, but we didn't design all the pieces. Yeah. All their fault is just the worst way ever to say that. It was, they took ownership of the solutions. They didn't have to do that because we paid outright for the mold and everything like that. Sometimes your brain just doesn't say the right words, and then it looks bad on other people.
Have you had problems transitioning that mold into your facilities here?
No, I mean, we don't really know any better. Like, we don't know how, like, when we made our first discs, it was in-house. It was on the inner core mold, and that's what we know. So we don't really, I mean, the biggest problem now is when there's issues, there are issues. We don't take it back to them.
Yeah.
We don't work, like they don't take it to their tool maker. If we break it here, we have to fix it here, or if we have to find someone to fix it. So, by the way, they still make our minis.
Oh, cool.
And we still worked with them, like have a great relationship with them.
Yeah.
So yeah, they were actually like very stoked about us getting the first machine. Because we had worked so closely together that they were like, this is the right step for you.
That's cool.
To keep it going, even though it was losing them some business.
Yeah.
I think it also lost them a lot of headache too. So it worked out in the end for both.
Yeah.
Okay, so back to 22.
Yeah.
You've pivoted to, wait, where were we what did I ask you and then you co-opted this whole thing and asked me a question?
See, that's the beautiful thing about co-opting. You don't even remember.
I think I asked you about like what I don't even remember.
Yeah, it was something.
So when you started it, you started it to start a YouTube channel. You wanted to start a YouTube channel inside of something you were passionate about.
Yeah, I think it's just, I think making content is kind of an expression or an artistic expression of like, or as someone who just likes to get things out, it's a helpful way because I like completing things and I like getting things out into the world. And YouTube's a great way to do both because a video is done when it's done. It gets shipped. I barely have to think about it again.
Totally.
And it's done and I get to like throw something out there. It's also cool because there are some videos that I make that are like, of course, like I'm trying to make it a good video for performance, but there's some videos that I just really want to make this. And I've kind of gotten away from that for the last little bit. I'm getting back into it for the foreseeable, hopefully forever.
Yeah.
But those are the fun videos that I can look back on and be like, that I want to watch now, just to go back and have like a time capsule.
Do you watch your old videos?
Not very often.
Yeah.
I maybe like once a year I'll watch 4 or 5 of them. Kind of, I'll get recommended, or I won't get recommended, but I'll be like going back through the old things. So, let me check that out, and then I'll go through 3 or 4 of them that get recommended to me, just to almost be like, wow, how was I doing that?
Yeah,
and
it's
sometimes
crazy.
I'm like, this is way better than I thought it would be
for
this
sure.
time period. I'm like,
I just had that on one where I was like, did I peak at that point? Like that was a really good edit.
Yeah.
Because I never watch anything, but I just was making a video where I put in a lot of archival footage. I think that's the thing. Building a business, I think that's the thing I'm most grateful for that was an accident. I did not start a YouTube channel to have documented every single thing. And I'm notoriously bad at taking photos. My wife and I will go on vacation, get back. We've got one photo and it was from like the airport. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like it's just, we didn't get any good photos. And it was like, now I look back and I'm like, oh, I took photos and video of everything. And I have that. I'm so grateful for that because there's a very real world in which I could be 5 years in with very little to show for like the scrapbook, if you will.
Yeah. I think that's kind of an underrated part of making videos for sure. It's a completely random tangent, but for Mother's Day, I got my mom this like digital frame.
Yeah.
I think there's some like that get advertised on YouTube that are like double the price of the one I bought on Amazon, which is like good reviews. And I think it's like a Finnish or Swedish company, but it's called like Framio or something. Not a sponsor at all, but it's great because...
Not a sponsor of this podcast?
No, not a sponsor of this podcast. Not sponsor of me. Framio, if you want to reach out, bedanzadiscgolf@gmail.com. I should probably get my own domain email. I already subscribed to a service that could do it. I just haven't done it yet. But it's nice because for my daughter, my mom obviously wants to see pictures of her granddaughter.
For sure.
And I am very similar to you. I do not take photos or videos at all. But basically every day I'm snapping something so I can upload it to her.
Oh, is it one you can
things.
upload?
Yeah, so I just send it to
that's
her.
sick.
And so now I have all these pictures of my daughter and like, and I'm trying, it's like pretty cool. So
yeah, that is cool.
That's pretty random.
Yeah, we got one of those in the family and I have not uploaded anything. So that's kind of where I'm at. But like no one wants to see trash can of photos, you know what I mean? And that's pretty much what's going on.
Oh my
for
God,
me.
kid, no. Sorry. Man.
Yeah, no. I would just upload photos of my dog. So, yeah.
Pretty valid. You have 3 molds now. No, 4 or 5 molds. What do you consider the ETs?
A collaboration series. Okay. I would not consider them part of our core lineup. So when I think of the molds I have, I would say like molds we make. And even if we did a collaboration series where we made it, I would probably consider that a mold we have because it's here, right? At the moment, we have 5.
What's the 5th? The new one?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's another mold in this warehouse that.
Oh, it's here already.
Yeah. Yeah, it's right over there.
Do you have like a upper bound that you're trying to not upper bound, but like, are you trying to release certain amount of molds in a certain amount of time, or are you just similar to what we talked about earlier, just kind of like, if it seems right, we're gonna do it? Or
that's such
is
a
there
great
like
question.
a schedule?
Not at all. Cool. Usually the schedule is after we release one, or at the point we're about to release one, we're working on the next one, and then like have an idea of that. The first one where that wasn't necessarily the case was the Canyon, where we didn't necessarily have an idea of the next one. We had a few ideas of what we wanted to do, but mold making is something we're trying to get a little more control over. So on one hand, you could say I'm really big on like having control as a business owner of things that like greatly affect the business. Mm-hmm. On another hand, you could say I'm a control freak. TBD, you can ask my employees.
Hey, I'm in the first category for you.
Yeah.
It gives me the leeway to be it for myself too.
Yeah. So I just think like if there's something that's going to sink the ship, I want it to be my fault. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like when it comes down to it.
Yep.
So with mold making, it's been tough because that's just something we don't have control over. We brought molding in-house. We brought the process of making discs in-house, and we have total control over that, which is incredible. If we have a mistake, like last year we had a mistake with Glow where 50 labels got printed twice and 50 labels never got printed. Mm-hmm. So 50 people got double of their order, and it might have been 1, 2, 4 Glow discs.
Yeah.
And we don't make a lot of Glow because we use only recycled Glow discs.
Yeah.
So we literally had taken the mold out. We were working on the Proto Canyon for the first time ever, and we decided to take that mold back out, put the inner core back in, and make whatever it was, 75 Glow discs to be able to fulfill those orders. That control is like really important to me, and mold making, we just don't have that yet. So I'm in the process of trying to figure out what that looks like in the next year or two for us. You asked me like, will we ever have tooling in-house? For sure. Yeah. I mean, on one hand, we have to just to be able to repair the mold. Mm-hmm. So, you know, if I'm going to have to do that to repair the mold, I'd rather be able to build the mold too. And, then we can play as well. Like, if you look at the scorches from Discraft that are the fused scorches, you can see tooling marks on it because it's a prototype mold. Yeah. And then they polished it a little more, I assume, at one point, and you can see that it's not got that. Like, to me, that is so perfect because no one cared about a little bit of tooling marks on there. If anything, like, if I'm Discraft, I'm telling that as part of the story too. Yeah. Like, what a cool aspect of like, we wanted to try this and see how that was. Also, what an insane mold to build. I mean, that one, the fused buzz is cool, but the scorch, dude, how many end mills did they break trying to make that? And polishing it would be, anyway, we're in the weeds. So 5 molds currently. I would like to bring mold making in-house. What's after this? There's a very real world in which, so this will be our next release. That would be 2 for the year with the Canyon. Mm-hmm. There's a very real world in which this is a 3-disc year for us. Wow. But I'm a big subscriber to the turtle wins the race. So I'm in no rush. I mean, I think the year we released our first disc, like Lone Star released 21 discs or something like that. And Lone Star could have also made it and be in a great place optically in the disc golf space, and I would still feel this way. So I'm not saying like that was anything. Yeah. All I'm trying to say is like, a speed is not like, I'm not trying to rush through it. I've said from the beginning I'd be really happy with 12 discs. Like 12 discs is good. Like
it's basically a full bag.
Yeah, you got every slot you need. Yeah. I'm not sure how I feel about that anymore. 'Cause like, for example, the Canyon can be used as an overstable approach. But I grew up on the harp. So like when I think overstable approach, I think something that feels like a harp, feels like a zone. Yeah. It can be used as a mid. We could also make an overstable mid that just glides and pushes farther. So like there is going to be some overlap where I'm like, I don't know. I think I'd be happy with 12. Maybe the collaboration series is where we fill up the rest of that.
Yeah.
Maybe not. But what
Yeah, I have two questions or two trains of thought to go down related to this. But the first, you actually touched on it more than I expected, but it was going to be a question about how you perceive time in your business. And then if that is a translation from your personality or if one has affected the other. Because essentially you said like the turtle you think wins the race. I'm more thinking like the stages and periods of time for Trash Panda from the outside looking in, from someone who I'm not a product-based business. I would maybe eventually like to make products at some point. That's not like that seems very secondary, tertiary to me. For me, I more care about entertainment and media. Like that's my thing.
your product is videos,
but
you do
for
have a
like
product.
you're the time frames that Trash Panda operates in. How do you view those? Do you see like 1 year, 2 year time blocks, 6 month time blocks, quarters? How do you perceive time as a business? And then do you think that's translation from you personally being slow and methodical, or did it translate to who you are later?
I really like that over the next 6 or 5 after this conversations, we're just going to kind of like talk about things we've grown in and people we are today who we weren't yesterday. I want it now. I am not slow. I am not that human being. And I think that's something I'm growing in. I think that's something I'm getting better at. I mean, I thought I'd make a disc in a month. Yeah. I thought I'd start selling discs that year. And I just like, I want things to, every problem, I look back, dude, there's problems that are like literally the most nothing burger of a problem ever. And at the time in 2020, it was the life or death of Trash Panda solving that problem. So I think now at 5 years, I've just started to see, I actually think like the solution to most problems, I will not say all problems, but most problems is time. I think time is the ingredient that's like the most underrated and like not talked about, like cheat code, because you just have to be willing to wait and be willing to like, and do what it takes to make it that far. Right. Because at the end of the day, like no revenue for 2 years is a very real thing that like you have to figure out how to do that. But like, there's a story, I don't know if this is true, but there's a story that Alexander the Great would wait to open his mail 2 weeks because most problems would solve themselves in 2 weeks. And then once he opened his mail, he was addressing, his time was going to the problems that were actually there or that he needed to be addressing. So yeah, I think time is like such a crucial element when it comes to running a business. Or like, I mean, even YouTube, a great example is like, so you start the channel, you get a couple hundred views, that first video that hits 10,000, it doesn't mean you're now a successful YouTuber, right? It doesn't mean now you're a successful content creator. That takes so much time. You could post your first video, it could blow up, and that doesn't mean it's successful. So time is like, I was thinking about this today. Time, determination, and naivete. I think those are my like 3 ingredients. Yeah. Being naive, just not knowing. I mean, I knew nothing about plastics, and I see it in so many other people's stories.
Do you think it's naivete or curiosity? Because both have the same base, but one of them kind of stays ignorant than the other. I feel like you're more curious than you are naive. Because I feel like you know where to go to figure things out. And you try.
Yeah. Por qué no los dos?
Fair.
I mean, yes.
They're probably not mutually exclusive.
Yeah. I think, on one hand, I would like to think at this moment that I am curious about things. Mm-hmm. But when I look back at, maybe one is like right now and maybe one's hindsight, right? When I look at that dude in his garage who's like, I'm going to quit my job during this global pandemic that we don't know what's going to happen and start this business I've always wanted to start in my garage. That had to be just pure naivete. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I think those three do work as a trifecta. Like, you can't have one without the other. You can't have the naivete without the determination. Otherwise, you're screwed.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Or you
So
just stop. Yeah. You hit a roadblock and you're like, all right. Yeah. I do think we'll talk internally about a lot of things at Trash Panda, like our competitive advantage, our competitive disadvantage, stuff like that. Like we try to talk about a lot of those things. And actually, I want to mention something there with the question you asked. Mm-hmm. I think our competitive advantage is determination here. Oh. Like, when everyone else would stop, we will continue. That is the mindset here. I do think that comes from who I am, not as much as the time side comes from who I am. Mm-hmm. I think the time side comes from necessity.
Yeah.
And on the time note, right now at 5 years, the way I look forward in terms of Trash Panda and where we're going is I have my sights set on 15 years, because only 25% of businesses make it past 15 years. So 15 is the number for me. And you might think like, oh, that makes sense, like having just turned 5. But I had a meeting with the team last year about this, where it was like, this is Operation 25%. We are right now focused on the things we will do to set ourselves up for success in the long run.
Yeah.
So I wanna cross that. I'll say milestone, not finish line. I don't know where the finish line is.
Yeah.
But that'll be a milestone that will be very rewarding. Did that even answer the question?
I don't know if these questions are meant to be answered. They're maybe meant to be more prompts.
Yeah, true. How do you see time? With the business.
Yeah.
And with the kid. Because those are, I think, are very, if I asked you before you had her, you would have probably said the same thing. Yeah. But now I think those are different answers.
Yeah, I think.
Or maybe they're the same.
The way that, one of the things that you said that stuck out to me, which rang true, is just about how, like, time fixes most problems. And I think the way, as a very, like, I'm a pretty emotional person. And so things happen and I have like high highs and low lows. But overall, I tend to be like at a pretty elevated state. Like, I feel like pretty good most of the time, but my highs are really high and my lows are really low. And a part of that comes from like things that are happening professionally, personally. But what I've realized about time is that it kind of squishes the highs. Like, it's like a compressor. It like, in thinking not only about the emotions of it, but also like the reality of, as long as you do endure, like as long as you have that determination to continue going. Because, for instance, like this last 2 months has been one of the weirdest times for me as a creator in the 3 years that I've been doing it, because I've taken total maybe 25 days off in the last 60 days. And typically I take 8 days off a month from posting. Like, and this was like mostly actually taking time off, like not working.
Yeah.
And it's been good, but one of the things is like revenue wise, I've set myself up in a way that's not going to be harmful over the long term, and because time will help that, because I'm determined over the long term. But like, one of the things that's interesting is, as disc golf, the videos views have seemed to gone down, like revenues over across the board for a lot of areas have gone down. And so as views drop, it's easy to like focus in on the smaller time pockets of like, this one video has less views overall.
Yeah.
But if you take the time and you expand it out, the averages is kind of what matters, which for me in posting as much volume as I do, having a longer time horizon is more helpful in that. And so looking at things, I used to look at things in terms of like each video, and then I started looking at things in terms of like each month. And more recently I've started trying to look at how I'm assessing the current state of things in quarters. And so it's honestly changed how I've managed a lot of my personal finances, because one of the things that I want to do is really make sure that, because I have a 10-month-old, and like I didn't start remembering a crazy amount of memories until I was maybe 3, 4, 5. I want to be there for everything, as much as possible. I also want to show her that like work is important. So I don't want to like not work. I always want to be working, but I want to be able to choose everything that I do. And so these next like 3 or 4 years are really important for me because it's kind of like the first stepping stone. I have like a number goal that I'm like, I want to try to have this much invested so that if I never have to invest again and I just have to figure out how to survive, like me and my wife will be fine in retirement, like forever.
Yeah.
And so like, that's the kind of like, and of course you never know what can happen. Like it's all based around assumptions in terms of numbers and like interest rates and whatever. But that's like the first time block that I'm looking at. And the second time block is maybe 20, 21 years because we want to have at least one more kid, more than likely just one. And so in the next couple of years that happens. And so I have about 20 years of being a parent with children at home. And so that's kind of like the secondary where I want to have these next 35 years set up for that time period. But I never see myself not doing something or working or like providing income because I think the income comes from like the value that you provide. And I always want to be disproportionately providing value compared to the income that I bring in. And so it went from like every video was the most important thing that the video would do well. And then it turned into like, as long as I post this many per month, like we're good. Yeah. And now it's turned into like more, I'm going to worry about the quarter because maybe I'm traveling a little bit. And so I just have less ability to output work.
Is it still like, I'm going to post this many this quarter? Or
mostly it's, and I think
because that's the only measurable is like quantity to some extent.
Yeah. The quantity, it's also I think it's gotten my nose out of the weeds a little. Okay. So instead of, if I'm just thinking about the next video, because I'm a very completionist based person, or at least I have been. I recently was listening and like thinking about something that's was like relatively life changing for me, is like being focusing everything on completion versus like maintenance. And so I was trying to complete life, like make sure that like I get to a certain point that I never have to worry about money again, but instead of just like, I want to figure out what is the life that I want to maintain and then build towards that. Because if I can build towards a life that I want to maintain, then it's not like, there's still going to be hard parts of it, but it's like different than like, I want to be done. And then what's beyond the done, because you can't be done with like various sections of life. But the getting my nose in the weeds of it was kind of important, because if I'm in every video, then I'm so worried about the next thing, versus every month. It's still kind of close, but every quarter I can a quarter feels long enough that I can sit back and be like, okay, is just posting in this one vertical of disc golf the only thing I want to do? Or do I want to expand my hobbies and interests and posting somewhere else as well? Or do I want to pursue like something that has a longer lead time, like creating a product, or like building out something that I think can provide more value, even though it takes me much longer, because I'm not so worried about just this next video or the next 4 weeks. I'm worried on a bigger time scale that's a little harder for me to like actively quantify, so I can worry about the bigger things. And that's kind of where I'm moving towards as having the kid, because she forces the day-to-day to be so uncertain. Yeah,
I feel like it's coming at the same time too for you. Like, she is also coming at the same time as you're looking back and you're like, I remember that video. And that video, when I posted it and it did well, felt like it changed everything. And now no one remembers that video, right? Like I feel like there's an element of like, for me, there's not one video. A lot of people will reference the How a Disc is Made video from the garage, but like a lot of people just say, I remember you hanging on the bar in your garage. And it's more nostalgia. But like no one remembers like that video or what happened in this one or that one, or the fact that I just didn't blink for a while. I guess someone commented that, and it's all I could think about. So like, I feel like that realization with her is also coming at the time for you of realizing, like looking back on it too. And with time, you see that. Someone asked me recently, they were like, how does it feel to run a successful company? And I was like, I'll let you know. Yeah. 'Cause the definition is just more time. Like, it's not 5 years. 5 years can't be the definition of, I mean, unless like you're a startup looking for an exit and you exit at 5 years and now you've retired for life off the money you made or whatever. Maybe you can say it that way, but my definition of success has a little more to do with what you said of like, I don't know how to say it other than the corny way, which is like the journey is the destination, like enjoying the process. And like, I think whenever this is all done, one day I'll be older and I'll be looking back and feel so fond about the process, right? Right now I feel so fond about the garage. I will never make a disc on that machine again. I don't want to. It is such an arduous and terrible process, but there's such fondness to it, right? Yeah. So
I think what you're saying resonates a lot with me in like the journey and the process and like creating. It's kind of like creating a life that you want to live, but that sounds even.
Yeah, let's do one more corny one.
Yeah, it sounds more like that, but it's really much more like becoming a parent and worrying less about each specific video or each specific day and realizing like, oh, like you saying the 5 years and then you retire from the startup. That used to kind of be like, oh, I want to do this. Like, one, I don't know how long YouTube's going to be here or creating content. So like, of course, I think it's just financially like prudent to do smart things with your money, not
for sure
inflate your lifestyle, invest well, make sure that I'm set up in a good way. But I always used to look at that as like the goal. It's like, man, I'm going to get to the point where I've completed money. Like I'm done. Like I don't have to worry about it. I'm financially independent or whatever. And because I am so focused on getting to a goal and like my mind loves that tunnel vision of just looking at the goal, I never really look on the other side of it.
Yeah.
And so when I finally like was forced to kind of step back and like look at the other side, because I'm like, my timeframes and my goals are within the time frame that my daughter will still be living with me. And like, that's not done. And I don't want that to be done. And now I'm 27 and I'm looking at the life that like my parents have or people that I knew growing up have. And it's like, they're not close to being done. It's like this is still going to go on. What am I going to do? And so instead of like, let me just so arduously focus on getting towards that pinpoint of a goal and not worry about what's beyond it, seems like so much more fruitless and like kind of vapid than like, I can still look at that point and be like, this would be sweet to get there at this time frame, but have like a more broad tapestry for another like pithy term of a life that's like, I'm enjoying my family and my hobbies and I'm not like just tunnel visioned and
totally.
And that's what I was. And honestly, like, I don't know if I would have figured that out without becoming a parent. And just like every day my wife and I split childcare and I have 6 hours where like my whole focus at least hours of just like making sure that she is alive and like having fun and everything is about her. And it's so much less about me. And it's like, this is like what I love it. Yeah. But it's not anything that I would have ever expected being the ambitious, like, let's get to a goal person that I am.
I think you would have gotten there. 'Cause like we had a guy helping us out here. And one day I was like, hey, we're done. Like, let's just stop here. We'll pick up where we left off tomorrow. And he was like, I have to complete projects. And I was that guy. Mm-hmm. I am not that guy anymore because there is no completing Trash Panda's current projects. Yeah. That just will not happen, period. And it's been that way for years. And that has shifted in me where it's like, I feel like there's almost an element of, you know, I think you would have gotten there. Maybe she expedited it. Yeah. But like, you just start to see it and I don't know, there was like a fatigue for me of like caring so much about a problem and then looking back over 5 years and seeing all these times I cared so much about a problem and whether or not I cared, they still got done. Yeah. Whether or not I stressed about it, whether or not I slept that night, whether or not I woke up the next day with like, one day I woke up with a canker sore or a cold sore. Yeah. That was guaranteed stress for the most stressful thing that was happening at that time. That is not even a blip on the radar of Trash Panda now. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like that. Yeah. I think there's something just about it. It's interesting you brought up time. So speaking of time, the last 2 months, what's been happening to you? I'm asking the way a YouTube commenter would have asked, but what the heck's been happening to you?
Yeah. So I think, I don't exactly remember. It started a lot before 2 months ago. And this whole mindset of like being very completion based. And I think honestly, the business avenues that I chose compared to what you chose would help me live in that like mindset longer than maybe you were able to, because my problems can be fixed with that next video and then it can just restart and up and up and up. And so I had done so many videos and then we had the baby girl and I took some time off intentionally. Then I kind of got back to work. And my wife is still working this year. And so we're kind of splitting childcare. And beyond that, because I'm a very like problem solver person, I have been so I like was focusing on my channel. But in a sense, my channel became a solved problem because it's a math problem, basically. I know that this is my average views. I know that this is how many videos I need to post. I'm going to put a 15-20% buffer on top of that upper end.
Yep.
That way, even if ad revenues are down or I post some underperformers, I'll still be fine. And so I
how much time it takes to make a video, how much time it takes to make a thumbnail.
Yeah, and so that's a known
it's
problem.
A science.
And so I didn't really have to worry about it that much. But I was also really trying to become a professional disc golfer and like get good enough to be a pro on the pro tour. And
dude, I remember the first time we played together.
Yeah.
Do you remember where we were?
No.
I don't even know what we were there for. It was Upper Badlands. Was it
what?
A course cleanup? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was Cash course cleanup.
Yeah. It was International Course Cleanup Weekend. Yeah. Okay. And we played together and I was like, I was impressed immediately. I was like, oh, he's good. Like, because I'd watched the videos and whatever, and I'm decent. But I was like, shoot. So you, like, I guess I'm only saying that to say, like, so many, you know how, like, I think it's like a trait in dudes that, like, most dudes think they can run a marathon.
Yeah.
Like, and they can be in any level of shape, but most still think they can run a marathon. And maybe putting it into one gender is not a fair, like, I'm sure that's just a personality of many people. But a lot of people are like, oh, if I could commit the time, I could go on the pro tour. And I remember playing with you and being like, oh, he's got it. Like, he can do this. So you had the...
Yeah, and so part of it is, I mean, over the past year or so, I've spent probably north of $10,000, $15,000 on, like, working towards that goal with, like, trainer and stuff. And because...
Dude, one of my favorite videos of yours was like how much money I lost.
Well, I didn't even put the trainer in there because I didn't want to talk about it at that point, like how much it cost me. So like I lost $100,000 if we assume specific, if we
was
assume
the video
IRS
$100,000?
Rates. Yeah, if we assume IRS rates. Wait, no, was it $10,000 or $100,000?
I think it was 10.
It was probably, yeah, it wasn't $100,000.
I don't think it was 100, but like, I mean,
I just, in my head, I just pictured the thumbnail and it was one with a bunch of zeros and I went with $100,000. It was not $100,000. I cannot afford to lose $100,000.
Yeah. It was definitely 10.
Yes. 10 makes way more sense.
I mean, can I ask what would have been with the trainer?
Probably about 20.
Okay. Double it.
Yeah. Cause I went 5 times a week, February, missing a couple weeks to the baby, and then 3 times a week after.
Yeah.
So average 4 times a week at $65 a session, $250 a week for a year, basically. So, yeah.
By the way, I'm gonna keep interrupting you. When I'm gonna ask you a question, and then the whole time I'm just gonna keep interrupting.
Sounds perfect.
So
that sounds exactly the way that I have conversations. That's no problem at all.
What was the question?
We're talking about a little bit about time, what's happened in the last 2 months.
So I'm
going back to a little bit earlier.
I'm going back to interrupting you. We haven't actually figured out if we have a name for this podcast, but maybe something in the realm of like, what were we talking about again? Could be interesting because we keep forgetting. Okay.
Be good.
I'm done interrupting you.
No, you're good.
Take it away.
That's doubtful. So in talking about going pro, that was something that like, I kind of thrown it out on my channel when I got started. It's like, I want to cash on the pro tour.
Yeah.
And that's still something that like my ultimate like goals are still like, I'm still want to tour and want to be a pro. And this is something that I'll shelve to talk about until after we've gotten back to these 2 months. But essentially, because for me, making the content had turned a little bit more into a science than an art, because being a pro was so much farther out of reach. The problem, even though I was like, I kind of changed my identities from like just being a content creator and then making content about trying to go pro underneath that umbrella. I was like, I'm going to focus on being a content creator over here and a pro over here. And I held those in like similar regard, except the problems were so massively different because the content creator problem in terms of what it took to sustain that was so small because it was that science. If I do my 5 videos a week, I'm fine financially, and that's what mattered. But being a pro was this massive problem because I was very far away from being a top pro. And in my head, like, you want to go all or nothing. And so I'm like, what does it take to be the best in the world? I wasn't thinking like like I am now, it's like, what does it take to be like 65th to 30th on tour?
Yeah.
And like maybe sometime hop up there, but like be good enough to always tour and be a really good pro, but like mostly do it for fun, which is kind of what it's morphed into. But because of that, the problems were such disparate sizes.
What's the cash line? Is it like
45,
35?
45,
45?
50, depends on
Okay.
how many people are there. And so I was so focused with all of my off time was just about getting better and being pro and doing all this. And this was like with the baby. And so my content suffered in some ways because I was just like getting it done. It was like the check boxes of just getting it done. And that's never, and I wanted to be a pro because it was a cool thing for like bringing people along the journey to do, not because, and beyond that, this is something I talked to my wife about and she really illuminated in me. But like, there is some sort of like inner child that like, dude, I can be a pro athlete. You know, like my inner child is so excited by that because it's like I remember being a kid, like I always wanted to be pro in everything. Like I was always trying to do that. I was like, I want to be a pro athlete or whatever.
For sure.
And it's like now I have the opportunity where like realistically, I think I could do it if I like gave up everything. And it got to the point where I was going after it and like trying to juggle everything and spin all the plates at the same time. And I was not doing the worst job at it. But then I went to Kansas City Wide Open, and all of the 6 to 8 months prior of just like working my butt off for everything and still trying to make videos. I had a harder time making videos. We were traveling. My wife was still having to work half days. So my half days were spent trying to train and make content. And then I went and played and I was so burnt out and I had my worst tournament. What it felt like, rating wise, it wasn't because luckily it was on the tour and it's a hard course. So like, even though I shot like 960-ish maybe, it felt like I shot 850 rated or whatever.
Yeah,
but I was so burnt out and I didn't care that I was playing bad.
Dang.
And so I got done with that and I just took a week, a month. I took a long time off.
Yeah.
I took like 13 days in a row and I just like didn't do anything. And honestly, I wasn't very productive. I was just like kind of vegging, just like chilling, watching my kid and then just like doing whatever.
What happens when you get burnt out? You know?
Getting done. And then I like didn't play any disc golf except for the film up until I went to the West Coast. And then I only did 1 or 2 practice rounds per course and actually played much better. I averaged over 1,000 rated out there, which was with a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
And then I also cast at the GoPro event or the Go Throw event. And then I came back and still took like a week, 10 days. I took 2 weeks off actually, basically. I got back and I posted once on the Monday after I got back. And then I just started posting again.
We were on track for the same amount of videos in June, which is a pretty rare occurrence.
Bad news. I'm already up to 4.
I
did
know,
3 in the last 2
and
days.
I'm still at 1.
I've also posted a short today too, so I'm at like 10 total probably.
Yeah, you got me beat by a landslide.
And so going, and a lot of what I realized after the Kansas City Wide Open was, do I think that I can go pro in disc golf or like I don't think I could be the best in the world, but I think I could be like really good and maybe eventually like be good enough to win. And like, still that would be a goal. Like I want to win on tour. Like that'd be sick.
Yeah.
But I was in the mindset of this is what I have to do because this is this big problem that I need to solve. And so it was like I was trying to complete it. Like I've been talking about a lot. Like that mindset shift was really important for me. Like not being completionist, but being more of a maintenance mindset. And so I was trying to complete this. And so all my waking moments were just funneled towards this. And besides all the responsibilities that I had, and it made me shirk some responsibilities and like just only be focused on it. And then I realized like what do I actually want? And like I think it's to be a pro. It's to be able to tour. It's to earn a tour card. It's maybe to get a tour finale at some point. It's to be as good as I can be, but to be as good as I can be without giving up everything that I would have to give up to be the best of the best. Like I would rather, instead of like setting a goal of where I want to be as a pro, I would rather enumerate what I'm willing to give up and what I'm willing to do and then see where I get to.
Yeah.
And I think because of that, I'm doing things more consistently and I'm enjoying it much more than I was before anyways. And so now it's kind of turned into my inner child would be satisfied me being a pro. But as an adult, I've always wanted to do YouTube. So why am I so focused on this one thing, which is costing me $20,000 a year versus the thing that's making me.
Some say 100,000.
Some lie on a podcast and say 100,000. But that kind of realization of these last couple months has really reinvigorated me and made me excited to create content in disc golf. But also I have other passions that I just have not explored since I've been trying to be a pro. Yeah. And so I've been getting back into other things and actually shooting content and going to be posting on other bigger markets than disc golf, which is exciting. I don't want to ever be out of disc golf because I do love it, but I think it was all of my life creating content was some of it, and then trying to go pro was all of it.
Yeah.
And now it's just like a part of a more well-rounded, fulfilled life, which has taken these couple months to figure out. And then it's something that I'm hoping to be able to maintain and tweak and learn throughout the rest of my life.
A very beautiful like example of that is that we're recording a podcast right now that like maybe 10 people will watch, right? Because we're doing this for us. Mm-hmm. And we know, like, I've had so many friends move and like different things happen in life where like you look back and you're like, oh, I wish I would have treated that last 6 months different. And that's like exactly what the goal was here, to be like, at least we'll always have this. It's cool to see that you're like, I'm going to make content in this sector that has a bigger like potential, but I'm also going to take actual valuable time where I'm not doing Bodanza disc golf and I'm not doing fatherhood, being with my daughter or my wife. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to just have a conversation that like, well, who knows how big that'll ever be. Yeah. Right. So I think there's something really cool about that. When we were talking about this a couple days ago, I called you and I was like, why are we doing this? Yeah. Let's just get clear on the why. You said something that I immediately wrote down and was like, I have to ask him about that. And I just was hoping you could just riff on like what this statement means to you. I think it applies to exactly like everything you just talked about. You said, I'm the type of person who needs switches, not dimmers. What's that mean to you?
Yeah.
Sorry if you said that in the confidence of our phone call.
No, not at all. I think it's like a 90-10 thing. I think 90% I need switches, 10% I need dimmers. But I think the way that my brain works, I don't know if it's because I have ADHD or if it's just who I am. I talk about the fact that I have ADHD a lot, but I try not to like blame things about it. I probably just yap and it just comes out. But I don't know if it's because of that or just who I am, but I feel like things need to be like, I need to be able to turn things on and off instead of trying to dial them up and down. Dialing up and down never really works because I'm such an all or nothing person. Yeah. And so in the context that I was sharing that with you is like basically since we won't talk about this here, but I had something like tragic happen to me when I was in college, overseas for a semester. And basically since that time and then getting back and like working and then the pandemic happening, it's been like so easy with my like dopamine starved brain to want to like just be online or like on screens or like playing silly mobile games that have like quick payoffs but aren't like long term, and so they seem like very frivolous, or just like watching content and scrolling. And so that's something that is very easy for me to fall into like content or screen addiction. And then it just like consumes a lot of my life, and I always have something in my ears, like a podcast or a video or anything. It's just always there. Yep. And one of the things that I had written down, I was recently going through my notes, but basically it was like when you always have someone else's voice in your ears, it's really hard to hear your own. And the reason that this switches and dimmers things all relates to this is I basically made a rule for myself that I'm not allowed to consume any content unless it's live sports at my house, like on my like it's not my property, but like on my landlord's property, basically. Yeah. For when I pull into the driveway, like if I step out of my car, and until I can get back in my car and I'm going somewhere, like I'm not allowed to listen to podcasts, watch anything, do whatever. And that over the last, it's only been like 3 or 4 days, but my relationship with my wife and my daughter has been better. My desire to work, my like thinking has been better. I've been like and that's been something that's been incredibly helpful for me as a rule. And it made me really realize that like switches, not dimmers, because I've tried so many times before, like I can only do it in here, or I can only do it like for 30 minutes or watch one show. But then it's just like, scale it back, you just turn it on, and I just like this, maybe it's just, it's not that I need switches or dimmers. I just don't have them. Like I don't have the actual dimmers. I have the auspice of dimmers, and it doesn't actually work. I mean, I resonate deeply with it. I told my wife about it after you said it, and she was like, oof, because she knows that I am that person where it's all or nothing. Yes. And
she'll constantly with things be like, why don't you just do a little less of that if I need to? It's like, it's on or it's off.
Yeah.
So when you said that, I was like, so much of life is hearing people talk about things and say like sayings that we've heard before, right? And you're like, oh, that hit me different that time.
Yeah.
But that was one of those that I've never heard anyone say that, and I was like, dang, that like really sits with me. Have you ever tried listening to the same song on repeat? Can you do that for like a long time? Does that help?
No, I just like a song a lot.
Okay, I'm like. I will beat a song into the ground by just putting it on and listening, and that it helps my mind. I tell people like I feel like I have 2 lanes in my brain, like car lanes.
Yeah.
And if I can just put traffic in one, I can actually like move freely in the other.
Interesting.
And that way I can actually like think and process. If both lanes are open, something's going to get filled, and maybe that's a form of ADHD that I don't know. I don't know. Yeah. My wife says one thing, but I don't think I do. But anyway, whatever. So I try to fill up one side. I literally just did a road trip where I drove like 16 hours and listened to one song for the majority of the time.
Wow.
Just because it helped my brain just go. Because if I'm in silence, there's not something filling that. In college, it was like working, even now actually, it probably is the same. Working from a coffee shop. It's like so much is happening that one lane is just full and the other one is just like empty and available to be like totally focused. Yeah. Do you have like...
No, I've recently honestly been much more trying to just be okay with just silence. Nothing going on at all. Like one of the things that as I become a parent, I'm starting to think much more about is like the people that I look up to, and sometimes it's just like parts of people that I looked up to, or even just a figment of someone that I look up to. And I'm much more like picky with that now, because it's like I'm also thinking about what are the things that I want her to see that
for sure
are normal, because those are going to start being created. Sure. And like me being on my phone all the time, or like always having an earbud in or whatever, I don't want that to like just be normal. Yeah. And so like just being in silence a little bit more and just being very present with like whatever it is I'm doing, or just trying to be more present with my thoughts, is something I've been trying to work towards. Yeah. I don't know if it'll always be there, and I like that as like a trick to try in the future, but I've really just been trying to be like, it kind of sucks, but like, yeah, there's a saying as well that I kind of thought up, which is probably pretty dumb, but it was kind of related to how I've been posting a lot. And so revenues have been dropping for me this month, which still pick back up because I'm doing more videos, and like in the long-term time horizon, not a big deal at all. But sometimes you think about like bang for your buck, like how do you get the most like for your dollar, or like your time is how I think about bang for your buck. It's like sometimes you just don't have to worry about bang for your buck if you just got to worry about the buck. Like sometimes you have to worry about the dollar and you got to brute force it. And like I've taken that not only for like just get, even if it's not like the most optimized video or revenue generation thing, you just have to worry about like getting it done. Yeah. And that's, I think, actually one of the reasons why I've been pretty successful, is because I don't worry about optimizing everything all the time. I just kind of do it. Yeah. But that's true in business and not true in my life. And so I'm trying to take that more into my life, where it's like, okay, well, why am I trying to find the trick to like do my dishes the fastest, or like clean up my house? Which just like, just do it. And like, who cares? Don't like set a timer on or try to optimize it or try to make it fun. Just do it. Yeah. And so that's kind of something I've been trying to lean into recently. And I've actually been finding a lot more, not like I'm not joyful in it like a Marie Kondo or whatever, but like I've been feeling very fulfilled like as a person, and like just because like as a man, of being like, oh, this, like I feel good that I can do this. And like if someone did this, I would look up to them. Like I would think that's an honorable thing. And I'm trying to do more things that I would feel like are honorable in other people, or like that are like respect worthy. And part of that is just like turn off the freaking screens and just do the thing. Just do it.
Yeah. I mean, I think so much about like being like running a company, being someone's boss, being a spouse, like in so many ways. Like for me to be the best partner, I need to be the healthiest version of myself. Mm-hmm. And I can only imagine the depth of that as like for you to be the best parent, you have to be the healthiest version of yourself. And if the clutter is causing you to not be able to like be with yourself and like process things, then like I do think there's a pendulum swing. Like you said, you're a verbal processor. I'm a verbal processor. there's something really important for you and I about internally processing. And I think for internal processors, there's something really important about finding verbal processing outlets. Mm-hmm. It's like we naturally lean towards one thing, but sometimes it's important to have the other too.
I think about the pendulum a lot.
How so?
I think similar to like the switches and dimmers.
Yeah.
It's like it's almost like a binary. It's not quite like a binary thing, but it's almost. I think the pendulum makes more sense because my life, I experience things more in like the binary ones and zero sense, where it's like just phasing from one to the other to the other to the other, but it's always kind of coming close. So it's like more truly like a pendulum, but I feel like I experience it in like ones and zeros, and it kind of irons out towards the middle.
So this is a crazy analogy, but whatever. We're in an industrial facility. We'll have an industrial analogy. Air conditioners are like turn on, turn off, turn on, turn off, and then when it gets to this point, it turns back on, right? And it's just this steady thing. Yeah. There's a controller in these machines, same as in the garage machine, and a bunch of different pieces of equipment in here called a PID controller. It actually finds the spot and makes it a smaller like window, right? So instead of turn on, turn off to heat up the band heaters on these machines, it finds that like, what's the word I'm looking
Oscillation?
for? Yeah. And it gets there. So it doesn't go turn on, turn off. It's just the right amount of juice.
Amplitude.
Yeah. So it feels like, I don't know what you were talking about.
Yeah.
It kind of
no,
feels like
that's how I see it.
Yeah. With the pendulum. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. And sometimes the pendulum swings are, going back to that time thing, just such long times. Like the pendulum of like, let me post daily and then let me not post for a couple weeks. And then like, that allows me to kind of try to intentionally find the middle because I'm the type of person I need to find out, like FAFO in a different sense. Like I need to do that for myself. Like I need to go out and like, maybe someone could have told me that the way that I was operating with trying to go pro was unsustainable. But I'm going to need to find out for myself.
I feel that so much. Like there's like you could not learn the hard way because you could learn by other people's mistakes. And I'm just like hold my beer. I'm going to learn the hard way. And it's like, I don't want to do that. I want to learn from other people's mistakes, but I like have to find out like that.
Yeah. I don't even know if I want to learn from other people's mistakes sometimes, because I think there's more nuance in like the learning that you get experientially than the learning from other people's mistakes.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things I want to learn from other people's mistakes, but I think some of like the most important things, like as long as like the risk isn't detrimental, like like with as long as there's
kid.
An acceptable tolerance of like what the downside is, I want to learn for myself in the most important things to me.
That's interesting. Do you read?
I do not read as much as I will be reading now that I don't consume anything else. So I've been reading much more recently.
Yeah.
But I don't read that much.
Yeah.
My wife is a massive reader.
Some would say this podcast is a result of our failed reading experiment together, where you were like, dude, we should read a book together. And I was like, yeah, down.
I was like, this is definitely going to get me to read books.
So we read a book. Did you finish it?
I haven't finished any of them.
Okay.
We read two.
We read two. Okay, cool. I finished both. I love reading, but for me, I was like, it'll get us to hang out. But I just learned, oh no, we just need to make content to be able to hang out. That's the move. So so the last few months, I feel like that might be the next conversation, is diving a little more into like the microcosm that is that, because this conversation was almost 10,000 foot in terms of like going all the way back and where we are now.
Yeah. And I want to, I think, starting that, it'd be good. And my start with you, I'm intrigued about how I want to kind of go back to my second concept around time that I was going to ask you about. Was the first was just about like how you perceive time and whether it's been personal or business aspect of things. But the second is like, is there an acceleration of like those timetables as you have more molds come out? What does it look like with that learning experience? And what are the things that you're taking from each previous one into the future of your business? And then how does that relate to you personally? But
interesting.
Probably too much for right now.
Yeah.
We'll be going a while.
Well,
do we have a name?
Nope. We will figure that out in the longer time horizon through which we will end recording this and post it. But
you got to make some discs. I got to make some videos.
I know. I'm really excited about doing this because it feels like it genuinely just feels like us in an empty warehouse having a conversation, which is exactly what I was hoping for.
That's exactly what it is.
Brought to you by Frame.io. Was that what it was?
No, that's a content creator thing.
What was the?
I think it was Frameo or something.
Frameo?
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty much the same thing.
Framo, like just frame with an O on the end.
Not,
it's brought to you by this UFO.
Genuinely
recycled
not
disc.
sponsored. Yeah. All right. Well, dude, pleasure.
It is.
We'll chat soon.
Always a pleasure.
Oh, no.